ready to shuffle? With this activity, all you need is short stories. And you're going to have multiple different short stories throughout these different numbers. So then what will happen is your students will click on one of these stories, and once they click, they're going to read that short story. After they read that short story, they then have some story prompts. They can either choose a word that describes what the character of the story and why does this character describe the story well, or maybe why it doesn't describe it well. They're also going to name one important symbol in the story and explain what it represents. And then they choose one word that describes the relationship between two key characters and what details support the choice of words. So again, you're going to have different stories behind these different numbers. And after you have those stories, your students answer these prompts. Once they answer those prompts, you can have a class discussion where the students will share their short story, or maybe you have them work with a group. And then as they answer these questions correctly, they get to pull out of a bin. You'll cut these up into small pieces, and they will get different points for getting these different questions correct. So you'll keep playing until the end of the time or until the end of the game. And once the game is end, there is an exit ticket. They can think about which story prompt was the most difficult for them and why. What story prompt was the easiest and why. And what is one story prompt that the teacher could have added next time? So again, this can be a great way for your students to practice reading in a fun, shuffle way, to have multiple different texts, and they're working in a small group, hearing the gests and hearing these students really problem solve their story prompts. You don't need 30, but if you wanted every student to have a different story, you could. You could also just have 5 different stories, and then maybe you have all of the same stories work together, and then they shuffle and they work with a different story, and they could compare and contrast that story. So multiple different ways to take this activity to the next level.